All right, guys. So we're gonna go over standard loadouts for me and what I like to use, and maybe this will help you guys figure out how to build your loadouts for when you reach end game. Now, a lot of people ask me, why do you use Propital and why do you use the Grizzlies over the IFACs and all these other things? Well, the reason I use the Grizzly over the IFAC is because the Grizzly actually stops blood loss, it removes fractures, and it heals the wounds at the same time, and it takes a 5-second duration. I usually use these in my mid-range to long-range kits. Like, so if I'm running the RSAS or the SR25s, these are the loadouts I'm typically going to run with it, because when I'm further out, it's a lot less likely that players are going to continuously hit me enough to kill me, and there's a higher chance of them breaking bones and all these things, right? So with that, if I were to use an IFAC, I would actually only be able to stop blood loss and heal the wound, which takes 3 seconds, and then a splint, which keeps you completely still, also takes 3 seconds. So effectively, it's going to take you roughly around 7 seconds to heal the same thing that the Grizzly can do. And when you're at medium to long range, this is a freaking lifesaver, guys. Now moving on to the Propital. So the reason I run Propitals now more than I run anything else, like I won't run morphine. Morphine's something I'll pick up mid-raid, and the reason I'll do that is I'll drop the painkillers I bring in maybe later on once I start running out of room. And these painkillers, you buy them for 3.9k rubles, right? However, if you were to take a morphine out, what you actually end up doing is you can sell that morphine to therapists for about 12k, and that 12k turns into 3 more painkillers you can use later on as well. Painkillers are low priority, right? Overall, for me at least. So I'm always looking for a way to bring items in that I can drop so that I can make money off of other items, right? So the Propital, the reason we actually use Propital is because once you use this, it is going to, within 3 seconds, it's going to start regenerating your health by 1 point. And that's 1 point over all of your body parts. Not only does it do that, but it's got a 2-second use time. And what it ends up doing is it also removes all your pain. So if someone's lighting you up, they take a leg or they break one of your legs, you pop this sucker, and what ends up happening is it's going to increase your vitality, which is going to reduce the chance for you to bleed and I believe break bones. And it's going to instantly start healing you 1 second. Over and over and over until the full duration is done. So you're going to gain 100 HP to every body part, right? And the reason this Propital is so good is it also allows you to continue to fight. So if someone shoots you, you can back into a room, pop the Propital, and they're going to expect you to possibly IFAC, to heal up or something. But what this does is it heals you over time. So you get to play the waiting game and allow them to push you, or you can push back out and kill them. Very awesome drug in this game, to be honest with you guys. The downsides are the hand tremors and the tunnel effect. And then after all is said and done, within the last 10 seconds of the health regeneration, you start to feel pain, which is going to blur your vision a little bit as well. But the reason I bring painkillers in my loadouts is I use the painkillers once this pain effect pops back up. I will pop it, and then I'll get rid of that. So then I only have to deal with the tunnel effect for 60 seconds and hand tremors for 300. You would assume, for the most part, that within that first 300 seconds or 5 minutes of the firefight, everyone would be dead by then, and there would be no follow-ups, right? Other players coming in. So this is why I use the meds that I use currently in this game. This is the reason why I actually use these meds. Now, for my close quarters builds, we typically like to run 6 of these 20-round mags for the MDRs. So for close quarters, we'll usually use silenced MDRs. And the reason we use the silenced MDR over I don't use these anymore, because the reason we don't use MDRs that are like shorter like this is because we're actually losing recoil. I mean, you can use this, but loud only scares people. It's kind of like a psychological effect, right? So for me, I would rather have a silenced, more accurate gun than worry about using, a gun that's loud to scare people. We also have different variants. So if I'm running labs, I will probably end up running a flashlight, right? Reason for that is the flashlights blind the scavs. It can. But if I know that I'm planning on just going straight for players, I'll run this instead. And the reason for this is flashlights don't blind players in this game. I think they removed that effect. I'm not really sure when they did, but I know that it does not blind them. So if you aim down sights with a flashlight at someone, they will still see you. Sometimes it works, but more than not, you're just gonna get shot in the face because that's just the way it is. I think I may have heard that they removed flashlights, and the reason for that was I think for epilepsy type things. Maybe someone can comment in the comments below about that, and they can clarify. If someone knows, it'd be cool. All right, so let's talk surgical kits. These things are amazing. Surgical kits actually bring back your black limbs, so your arms, your legs, and your stomach, right? He will not bring back your chest and head. However, your chest and head can be blacked in game through bleed damage. So keep that in mind. Now, if your chest and head are blacked out, when you receive another hit, if there's any fragmentation, you're 100% dead. Because the fragmentation, depending on where the fragmentation hits, if it hits you in you need 1 damage to your chest or your head. If the fragmentation to your arm goes into your chest, you're 100% dead. Doesn't matter if you have armor or anything like that. You're done. So the difference between the compact surgical kit and the advanced surgical kit is that the compact surgical kit only heals 45 to 65% of your HP to that broken limb or the blacked limb, where the advanced surgical kit comes out on top is it does 80 to 90%. And you're probably thinking, well, why does this matter? Well, over time, and if maybe in some raids, you may end up in multiple firefights and your limbs are constantly getting blacked by players who are using high flesh damage rounds, or something like that. Or maybe the scavs are just picking on you and they just don't want to shoot your armor at all, and they're like, well, I'm just going to keep taking your arms and legs. And that's very common, especially with the shotgun rounds that are rip. you ever run into one of the freaking Terminator scavs that have rip rounds? You'll see multiple limbs going all at the same time. Doesn't make any sense, but it does happen. So what ends up happening is over time, this one will heal up 80 to 90%. This one will do 45 to 60. Now, if you look at your limbs, they have a certain amount of health, and every time you use these kits, it's going to shrink that health pool. So say the more you have to repair that arm or leg, the smaller the health pool on that arm is going to get. And that just means you're going to have even more blacked limbs faster, right? That's how I perceive these surgical kits. Now, there's nothing wrong with using a CMS kit or an advanced surgical kit. I would never recommend one over the other. Neither, in my opinion, is better. It's what you need and what you can afford when it comes to these surgical kits, right? And with that being said, I think the most I've ever had a CMS kit and raid was 5 times. And that was through a lot of player combat plus scavs, like boss scavs. All right, guys. So one other thing I wanted to go over too is one thing I've commonly done in game when my limbs are blacked is I instantly go to fix those limbs, right? And the biggest problem with going to fix those limbs is if you don't pay attention to your debuffs, if you're bleeding, you're going to waste 16 to 20 seconds just to bring the limb back to have it bleed out before you can heal it back up. It's priceless whenever it happens. And actually, I've had it bug out because I didn't notice I was bleeding, to where the limb looked like it was fully healed, and it actually wasn't. So keep that in mind too if you run into that problem. So always pay attention to your debuffs before you use a survival kit. Make sure you are not bleeding. So heal up your bleeds real quick, right? So the next thing I want to go over too is the ETGC, and this thing has, it's good, right? But for me, I don't like the negative effects that it gives, right? Some players may like these. Some players use the adrenaline and the other stuff. I personally do not. The only thing I use is Propital, and that's because Propital gives me manageable debuffs. To me, these are manageable, and I mean these could be manageable too. However, I'm going to tell you why this is good, but I'm also going to tell you why I don't use it. All right. So this is good because it gives you 45 health over 10 seconds, right? To each body part that's damaged. That is very good. And it also gives you a little bit of energy recovery. So it'll give you 30 energy back, which is good. If technically you're at 70 energy when you use this will put you back to 100, which is ideal, right? However, if you're below that, which a lot of people usually will be, what'll end up happening is after 35 seconds goes by, you're going to start draining rapidly all of your energy. Not all, but 80 over time. So within the next 20 seconds after the first initial 35 delay happens, you're going to drain a complete total of 80 energy. And the problem with losing energy is that once you go to 0 energy, you'll see a little battery icon pop up and it'll start to fill up. And as it starts to fill up, you get more and more effects once it reaches max that are going to severely penalize you. One thing that it does is it will start to drain health from every limb over time. It'll slow your effectiveness of aiming down sights, of healing. It'll slow everything. It slows eating. It slows drinking. It slows just everything, right? The one cool thing about this is the immunity it gives, right? So it's also giving you metabolism, which doesn't matter for 90 seconds. The metabolism is going to slow your hydration and energy from depleting, but it doesn't slow this effect, if that makes any sense. It's kind of weird that they even have it on there, to be honest with you. But the immunity is cool because it prevents you from getting any additional effects. Like, so if you were to get shot in the head, you will not get that confusion state. You won't get the tendinitis, the ringing of the ears. Milk also does this, by the way, guys. Milk, if you drink it, it'll give you that immunity effect, or it'll give you plus skill to immunity over time. Really cool. But the one reason I don't use this is because if you look at the difference between Propital and this, Propital only heals 1 health to all limbs over 300 seconds, and you're getting up to 100 HP over those 5 minutes. But the big thing is this removes pain. So if I get into a firefight, this is going to remove the pain and allow me to keep pushing through and doing things while getting minor healing, which is possibly going to counter bleeding. And if you're not bleeding at all, that's good too, because then all your shit just goes straight up, everything. Whereas this doesn't do that. All right. So that's the major drawback for me with this. And also that it reduces, for 60 seconds, it's going to reduce your endurance by 10, which is going to make you slower. Your stamina is going to regen slower, and your health. So you're going to have even more effects. If someone encounters you in this 60 seconds, there's a higher chance for other things happening, like, higher chance for bleeding, higher chance for, dying on being hit when your limbs get blacked. So these are all things you got to put into effect when you pick the meds that you pick when you play the game. Like, read everything. Don't just use a stimulant because you're like, oh, this might help me. Know what the effects are and what could happen or go wrong once you use it. Because if you didn't know that this drains your energy, you're going to be really hating life when you give all your gear away to someone because you ran out of energy and basically died, went to sleep completely. If that makes any sense. But anyway, hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. Let me know what you thought. If there's anything you guys can add in the comments below, that'd be awesome. Educate me, because I still don't know a lot about this game, and I've been playing it for almost 2 years. All right. If you know something that I don't know, please help me. Teach me, because I'm here to help teach new players and maybe even some older players. But I also would love to get more information from the community.